I've struggled with anxiety for years, and I recently started therapy. It's tough, but I'm learning a lot about myself. Have you ever had a mental health journey that changed your perspective on life? How did you navigate it?
Yeah, so I feel like we both did,
Definitely.
especially after Royce passed away. I feel like different though. Like I was more so dealing with pretty bad depression. I was also diagnosed with anxiety and insomnia, which surprised me. But I feel like you've dealt mostly with anxiety.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like my anxiety got to a really unhealthy point last year, where I wasn't able to really manage it. Like I was just in fear of everything, you know. And my anxiety has gone through some like different stages, which has been weird. So, um, I had like a little health scare 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and we thought it was a heart attack, and the doctors thought it was maybe
Myocarditis or something.
myocarditis from the vaccine. Like there was just a lot of unknowns, which was the scariest thing, and I was in so much pain for so long. Like I wasn't even able to function because of the amount of pain I was in during that time. And because of that, it caused some like health anxiety, and like I started really fearing that every little thing was my time. It was
Right.
a sign of I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I would get a sharp pain in my chest. I'm like, well, this is it.
Yeah.
Or I'd get a headache, and I'd be like, well, I have a brain tumor. I'm gonna
Right.
die. Right. And like, I just kind of started really fearing about my health, and like, it was debilitating. I would honestly say. Is that the right word?
Debilitating, yeah. It's close.
Cut
Debilitating.
that. Yes, cut that. Debilitating.
Debilitating. Yes, and I feel like that, as well as you just have fear of like losing others, which I feel like
Yeah.
is just natural, but especially after losing someone so close, especially a child. I feel like that's just, you think that, I think I've mentioned this before, but like after my brother passed away, I was like, something like this will never happen to me again, because I've already experienced something like that. But it did. And so then it was almost like, well, now anyone that I know and love could just die at any moment. And that was kind of like an eye-opening, like,
Yep.
that was kind of like it was kind of like a questioning God type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Which we already talked about. But, I just felt like it just heightens your fear of like losing somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you said it perfectly, because that's exactly how I felt. Was like I had such a belief that God wouldn't do that as long as I was serving him and worshiping him. And so after that, yeah, I was like, holy crap, like everything's on the table, right? Is that the saying? Nothing's on the table.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Cool.
I've never heard that saying before.
Anyways, so yeah, like it just made me realize like you could die,
Yeah.
and I could die,
Yeah.
and my mom could die, and it just was like, holy crap. Like it scared me a lot. And I used to think like, if anyone died right now, I don't think I'd be able to continue like with my own life, because of just how much turmoil that put me in. And it was weird because I was really fearful of, every little thing. Like, and I'm much better now, but I would say like a year ago, or maybe even 2 years ago, like I would die 1,000 times every day in my head.
Yeah.
Like, and you would die 1,000 times every day in my head, which is like so mentally draining, right? Like I'd be driving and I'd think, oh, this car is going to veer and I'm going to die. And my mind, it wasn't just the thought, which was the worst part. It was, I would live through it, right? My mind would go to a place where it felt as real as if it actually did happen. And then my mind would even go further, and it would like go through my funeral, and it would go through the aftermath of you trying to figure that out. And like, it was just so exhausting. Like, it was a very unhealthy, mentally time in my life. And therapy definitely helped with that, I would say. The biggest thing for me is just finding the right therapist is the hardest part.
Yeah.
But even when I felt like it wasn't the right therapist, it was still a net positive, right? So I think no matter what, go to therapy, right? Even if it's not the right person, go find someone else, but it's not a net negative, I don't think. And I would say today, yeah, like I still have those feelings of anxiety, and like my perspective has changed a lot, though. I would say that that's made it much, much better, where I've trained my mind to, anytime those thoughts come up of, hey, Lindsay just left the house. Oh, wow, what if she dies? I've trained my thoughts to, switch and think about, no, we're fine. Everything's fine right now. And just coaching my mind has been really helpful.
Yeah.
So, and the biggest thing for me when it comes to therapy is just learning actual, like, things you can do instead of just talking about my thoughts. Right.
Yeah.
I wanted the therapist, and that was kind of my issue with some of them, is I wanted my therapist to say, if I'm in this moment, I'm on the plane, there's turbulence, what do I do in that moment to reduce my anxiety? And those tactics were the most helpful things that I took from therapy.
Yeah, because, I mean, you can talk to anybody about your problems that you're having, but I feel like you need ways to solve the issues that you're having.
Yep.
And I like, for me, I went to therapy because I was struggling, and I kind of knew that I was dealing with depression, but I just didn't want to like admit it to myself, I guess. So she actually like said the words like, you have clinical depression. And for some reason I already knew, but it just like hit me really hard because I just didn't want it to be true. And so, but I feel like it was good in that sense, because then I was able to get like further help, I guess you could say, because then I did wind up getting on medication, which before I was like really against, which I feel like a lot of people are, because it's kind of scary. People think that you could get like addicted, or you just become a different person, or your personality like changes. So I told my therapist, like, I don't want to get on medication. But I mean, I got to a point where like she did as much as she could for me, and I was still struggling, And so I feel like that's changed my perspective, because people will say like, oh, you can cure depression by exercising more or sleeping more or eating better or doing all these things. But it's like, I had insomnia. I wasn't sleeping. I have always been consistent in working out. Yeah. And so those things weren't things that were solving my issues. So I just feel like it changed my perspective on medication, I guess. Yeah. And just the fact that depression makes it hard to do anything. So it's like when you have depression, like you don't feel like getting up and going and working out or like doing these things. So it's like you need a little bit of a push to like even do those things. So I just feel like it's changed my perspective on depression in general, and just medication to like help you through those types of things if you need it. Yeah.
And I think you just saying that could help tons of people.
Yeah.
Like sometimes therapy isn't enough.
Yeah.
And that's okay to say that, I think. And don't be scared of medication.
Yeah.
Like they've refined it and studied it so much to this point now, where they can literally do a blood test and match you to the perfect antidepressant for you. Yep. So yeah, I think that's really important, is just be open to all the tools available to you to overcome these things, because you don't need to suffer. Right? I think sometimes we just keep suffering, right? Because we're not willing to admit it or ask for help. So yeah, do therapy. I think medication is great. I don't know why there's such a stigma, but and then just be aware of what is going on with yourself, I think, is another big thing. So anything else?
No, I think that was it.
Okay, awesome.